Hi, listeners. So, today I have brought to you a very different topic which apparently will interest all of you given the fact that we all living in present moment and we all think about past, we think about future, or rather I would say that we keep thinking about what has happened in the life and what can we do to make it better and try to incorporate all that in the present moment. So, yes, we are talking about time here. So, guys, the question is time static or it's cyclical? Or, for that matter, there is no time at all. So, there are a lot of perspectives which have been driven. Even if you read the quote by Albert Einstein, which says the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. So, we've spent a lot of time drilling down a lot of books, some videos, some links, based on which we are going to get some perspective of what time is really. And we're going to post some questions in between if in case we want. We will try to understand that a little better. But it's going to be a topic of interest of a lot of people because we all want to understand what is time. So let's dive into this podcast and hear that out.
Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into a question that's been around since, well, forever. Is time a straight line or does it loop around?
A real head scratcher, right? And it's not just philosophers pondering this. Physicists are in on it too. Lucky for us, though, we've got some fascinating material to dig into.
That's right, we've got Einstein's Dreams by Alan Lightman and 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, plus a couple of YouTube videos. Those should really get us thinking.
It's amazing how these sources tackle time from such different angles. Lightman throws us into these imaginary worlds where the rules of time are, well, kind of messed with, and then Garcia Marquez blends linear and cyclic time right into his story about Macondo.
Okay, so let's start with something familiar, linear time, the kind most of us live by every day. Like in Einstein's Dreams, there's a woman who loses her job. And it's described as this like steady march forward. You've got clocks, appointments, those deadlines always looming, everything neatly divided into past, present, and future.
It reminds me of how Sean Carroll explains entropy in that Big Think video. He uses the example of perfume spreading through a room, starts simple and ordered, but gets more complex and chaotic over time. That's the arrow of time, always pointing from order to disorder, past to future.
So even though we might wish we could rewind and fix things sometimes, the universe is like, nope, keep moving on.
Exactly. But it's not always so cut and dry, right? In another one of Lightman's worlds, people actually ditch clocks altogether. They live by their own. Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
You mentioned about time is linear or, you know, people tap into time, but is it possible to go back in time really? We've heard a lot about time machines being created, people going back in time and doing things. Is that something which is possible?
That's a great question. It's something that pops up in Einstein's Dreams.
He actually dedicates a whole section to what it might look like.
He describes people who've traveled to the past
They're super careful. They don't want to alter anything.
because they're afraid of messing up the future.
Right, as for whether it's actually possible.
Well, our current understanding of physics.
It presents some pretty big challenges to time travel.
But hey, who knows what the future holds?
That's right, and later we'll dig into what those physics videos say.
Okay, let's unpack this. If you knew you'd relive it all,
Would you change anything?
Lightman's looping world, people embrace things.
They know it will come back around.
Reminds me of the Buendias in Solitude.
Same names, similar fates, a generational loop.
Ursula even says time is turning in a circle.
It's woven into Macondo, Gypsy's inventions, the cyclic rhythm.
So these novels hint at cyclic time, but is free will an illusion?
That's the question. Even in cycles, choices are made.
But if lives are repeating patterns, are choices less important?
Definitely something to think about.
Hold on. Einstein's Dreams? Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Uh, if you're talking about time being cyclical, then even if I go back in time and change something, that is also something that's going to get into a loop. So how does it really matter? Even if I go back in the past and change anything, because changing anything will not change the future. It will rather redecorate the future into something completely new that we are talking about. or we are doing.
That's a really interesting point. It makes you wonder about cause and effect in a cyclical world, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like in Lightman's world where everything repeats precisely. Even your act of going back and changing something would have happened before and will happen again.
So in that specific version of cyclical time, it seems like your actions, even time-traveling ones, are part of the loop itself.
It brings up the question of whether change even has the same meaning if it's destined to repeat. It's more like a variation within the established cycle, perhaps.
Exactly. And later on, we were going to talk about how Einstein's dreams explores memory and identity in these different time worlds. This idea of your changes being part of the loop ties right into that.
Right. So even if you went back, the new future you create was also part of the original cycle. It's mind-bending.
It really blurs the line between free will and destiny, doesn't it? If your choices, even time-altering ones, are predetermined within the loop.
Okay, let's try to unpack this a bit more. So in that world, linear versus cyclic kind of vanishes, right?
Pretty much. Because every new moment is also a repeat of a past moment. What does that do to memory, identity, existence itself?
My head's spinning. I'm definitely looking at time differently now because of what you brought up.
That's the best part of exploring these ideas, isn't it? Expanding how we think about things.
So where should we go next? We were just about to get into those physics videos.
Exactly. Let's see how scientists tackle time on a cosmic level, which might give us another perspective on this whole loop idea.
Okay, mind-bending physics time, the paradox of time video.
Right, the one that talks about the Big Bang and the different theories about how time might end, or if it even can.
That's hard to even wrap my head around.
Right, it's where our everyday experience of time meets these really extreme cosmic scenarios.
So thinking about cycles again, some theories even suggest the universe might go through cycles of expansion and contraction.
Which brings us back to a kind of cosmic loop, doesn't it? Even on that grand scale.
Whoa, lots to digest there. It seems this question of cyclical time pops up in all sorts of places.
It does. Let's shift back to human experience for a moment, though.
In Einstein's dreams, there are worlds where people perceive time in really unique, almost physical ways.
It's cool how Lightman uses those scenarios to highlight the subjective nature of time, isn't it?
Like in the world where time slows down, the more people remember. Imagine living in that kind of loop of memory.
Exactly. Or the world where time moves faster in public places than in private ones. How would that affect your sense of a repeating day?
It really makes you think about how our perception shapes our reality, even within a potentially repeating cycle.
Brings us back to our own experience of linear time and how even that feels different from moment to moment.
Right, and maybe those subjective experiences add a layer of uniqueness, even if there's an underlying cycle.
There's definitely something to be said for tuning into our own rhythms, whether time is a line or a loop.
It's a reminder that maybe the most important thing is how we experience and use the time we have, however it's structured.
What about the cyclic time we see in 100 Years of Solitude, the repetition of names and destiny?
Right, even though Ursula tries to break free from those repeating patterns, the family often seems doomed to repeat similar mistakes.
Yet, without that cyclical narrative, each character experiences their life as something new and unfolding.
It's like even if there's a grand cycle, our individual experiences within it feel linear.
The way Garcia Marquez writes, blurring those lines between past, present, and future really reinforces that cyclical feeling.
And the magical elements almost suggest a reality where time isn't so rigid and linear.
Melquiades, with his constant return and his ancient knowledge, almost embodies that sense of repeating time.
And the ending, with Aureliano reading the story of his own family, connects everything in a closed loop.
So even if everything is somehow decided in a cycle, we still experience each moment as if we have choices.
It's like linear and cyclic time might both exist, but on different levels of reality.
Exactly. Our personal timelines feel linear, but maybe there are bigger cosmic or even narrative cycles at play.
It's mind-blowing, but also kind of comforting in a way. It makes us feel like we're part of something bigger than just our individual lives.
Ultimately, whether time is linear or cyclic or something else entirely, it really comes down to our experience of it.
We've definitely traveled through a lot of different universes of thought today. Time is such a mysterious thing.
We often take it for granted, but when you really think about it, it's constantly shaping our reality.
From a straight line to a never-ending circle, or maybe even something beyond our current understanding.
And how we perceive time and whether we believe it's linear or cyclical can really shape our societies and the choices we make.
Thinking back to physics, it's wild to consider that time might behave completely differently at the very beginning and the very end of the universe.
It really challenges our everyday assumptions about what time even is, that it's this constant, unchanging thing.
It's less like a strict ruler and more like a flowing river, constantly changing and being shaped.
I love that analogy, and we're all just part of that flow, experiencing it in our own unique way.
So instead of searching for one definitive answer to whether time is linear or cyclic, maybe it's more about understanding how these different perspectives fit together.
Like those Russian nesting dolls, right? Each level with its own unique experience of time.
My mind is definitely stretched in the best way possible. It's so exciting to keep learning and thinking about these big questions.
Absolutely. It's always great to wrestle with these fundamental ideas about our universe and our place in it.
Now it's your turn again, our amazing listener.
What are your thoughts now? Does time feel more linear, cyclical, or maybe something else entirely after our conversation?
How might this idea of linear versus cyclic time affect how you see your own life and your choices?
We encourage you to revisit those passages from Einstein's Dreams and 100 Years, maybe rewatch parts of those videos, and really think about your own relationship with time.
That's where the real magic happens, when you take these big ideas and connect them to your own experiences.
Exactly. It's about using what we've explored today to gain a little more insight into ourselves and the world around us.
If both linear and cyclical time are happening in different ways, would that change how you choose to live your life?
Thanks so much for joining us today and for sharing your insightful question. We hope you continue to explore these fascinating ideas.
Keep wondering about all these big questions until our next deep dive together.
We truly appreciate you spending your time with us today. We hope you gain some new perspectives on the nature of time and how it touches your life.
So thank you for watching, guys. I hope this video has given you some perspective, because time is very close to everybody's heart, and it's important for us to understand. So it's a personal definition. Time is a personal definition. For me, what time means may not mean the same for you, and it's very similar. I was reading somewhere where we were looking at Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and one yug for us is like one breath of Brahma. So we talk about 100 years of Brahma. Think about how many yugs we are talking about. So that is the difference of time. um, you know uh, People say that this gentleman is Amar, or is never going to die. That is purely dependent on the time, how time is connected to that body. There's a possibility, if you watched movie like Inception, where within the dreams the time slows down. And if you also have experienced, when you dream, you see a complete full episode, which may have not occurred only within number of hours that you've slept. That reflects very strongly that when you are sleeping for like 3, 4, 5, or 6 hours, those get converted into multifold number of hours when you go off to sleep in your dreams. So that's one very core example of time is very subjective. Time is not something that we can actually define here. Time, we can reduce the time, we can increase the time depending on how we are associated and connected with time. Anyway, having said that, folks, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, do share with us more comments, and let us know what more you want to gain out of these kind of videos. This is like an informative video which I brought in for you all to kind of look upon. So we'll definitely come up with more informative videos and also learning videos, both. This will be like a combination and blend of both. So stay tuned. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, share, like, and comment. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you get to know when we come up with the new videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys. God bless and happy learning.